But I wanted to start, Mitch, with this conversation that I think I've seen brought back up, and not necessarily just with Islanders fans. It's been on like hockey Twitter in general, which is tanking discourse. And
Mhm.
I just find it a little weird that it's rearing its head again right now, 16 games into the season.
Yeah, I think it's just because fan bases hate the mushy middle, right? They just want to avoid it at all costs. And so it's either at this point of the year, they figure that the team has figured out we're either going to be good or bad. And so might as well get your ducks in a row now. If you're bad, be the worst. But there can only be one, the worst. And even then, being the one, the worst doesn't always work out, as we noticed this year, right? With getting Matthew Schaefer. But the idea is to, you want to tank. And so you might as well get started now because you're not going to catch those teams in, like, let's say January when you try to figure it out. I guess
so. But like, I don't know. I'm looking at the standings right now, and Vegas, Edmonton, they're on the outside looking in. You have teams like Philadelphia in a playoff spot. You have teams like San Jose in a playoff spot. And who knows, maybe they stick. Like the Ducks are just, I don't know, apparently like the best team in the league, just about. My point being is, like, this feels like such a weird time to bring it up because I don't think, one, we have a big enough sample, and I just don't really care for the discussion in the first place, because the stem of where this comes from is the idea that really the only way to be successful in the NHL is you have to suck for 5 years.
Yeah.
Top 5 years in a row. And I don't view it the same way. I just don't.
I mean, has there been any team that has used that we're going to be bad for 5 years and then build this, wheelhouse, this wagon, if you will, that's going to destroy the league for, let's say, 10? I don't know if that's really been done successfully. Again, Edmonton did it. It was not successful. If you're looking even outside of the NHL, like the Philadelphia 76ers did it. That didn't work. So it's not the way to build a hockey team. It's really not. It's a great way to get building blocks. Absolutely. You get, one or two deep, like really good prospects to start building your core off of. Sure. Maybe even 3, but then then you've got to acquire them in other ways, either through free agency, either through trades. I guess the only other 2 venues there. That's how you build the team. It is not solely done through top 5 picks. Hell, the Islanders tried to do it, right? We went right from the Edmonton Oilers to another league, but the New York Islanders did it under Gar Snow when they got Tavares, Nino, Del Cole, Ryan Strome. That was supposed to be their core, and that failed miserably.
Yeah, almost none of them were there.
Griffin Reinhart. Forgot about Reinhart.
Griffin Reinhart. Now, Reinhart helped land Matthew Barzal, but like when I think back of the most recent Islanders core, right? Like when they were in the Eastern Conference Final, Anders Lee, late round pick, Brock Nelson, end of the first round pick. Josh Bailey was a top 10 pick. That helps, obviously. But even Matthew Barzal, like that's a middle of the first round pick. Anthony Beauvillier was a late first round pick. They traded for Jordan Eberle. They traded for Nick Leddy and Johnny Boychuk. Like, I guess maybe the argument is, well, they didn't win anything, so see, it didn't work. But I don't really look at, and maybe it's just because I'm seeing it with like 2 of my teams right now. It's a conversation for both the Jets and the Islanders. And the point that I bring up all the time on the other side of the coin with football, there's a narrative that like you have to get the number 1 pick so that you can get the quarterback, and that's the most important thing. And while I agree the quarterback is the most important position in the sport, there's so many examples of the first quarterback taken in a draft class not even being the best of that draft class. So this doesn't guarantee shit. Now, in the NHL, I feel like the massive busts, it's rare to see like a massive bust number 1 overall. Who's the last one? Yakupov, really? It's over 10 years ago at this point. And like there's different variations of, the first overall pick. Like clearly Rangers fans are frustrated with Lafreniere, but like, while I don't think he's reached his potential, and I think you could say he's been disappointing. To me, I wouldn't classify that as a bust because you have like he's a functional NHL player. And like this just feels like such a crapshoot sport, and to go the only way to build it is you have to be terrible for like 5 to 8 years. I don't see it that way. Like with Matthew Darsh in his interview, I don't think John Collins was asking him like what's your plan to have the Islanders in contention 7 years from now. I don't think if you're bad, if Matthew Darsh is bad, like, and they end up tanking this year, which I don't think, and Mitch didn't think so either. I'll put the words in his mouth for him, that they were going to be like a 60-point team this year. But if you're picking in the top 3 for like 4 straight years in a row, is Matthew Darsh going to get the opportunity for drafts 5, 6, and 7 for them to finally turn it around? No, they're probably going a different direction at that point.
Exactly. I don't think teams arguably build with 8-year plans in mind. And GMs don't last that long either. You made a great point in our first run through. Like the only GM that can survive that long is Gar Snow.
Yeah, that's the outlier. That's not the norm.
Exactly. They're not hiring GMs on 8-year plans. I don't imagine. Obviously, I'm not in those conversations. But when you look at even just coaching contracts, they're like 4 years long because that's where they view a cycle. That's where they view like, well, by 4 years, we should be where we want to be type of thing. And if we're not, well, then we got to get out of business with this guy. And so I kind of imagine it's the same thing with GMs. Maybe it's a 5-year thing with GMs just to give them that extra little bit of year and, you know, give it to the clean 5 type of thing. But that's the furthest that they're looking out. It is certainly not 8 years. And I don't think there's a single franchise out there that's going to be, let us be awful for 5 years. This is a league that makes its revenue, I'm going to say 66% of its revenue based off gate receipts alone. If you're bad for 5 years, you're not getting bumps in seats and you're not making money. That's a huge problem for this league. The league in and of itself won't tolerate it, let alone the owners themselves tolerate that kind of suckery.
No, and
on purpose.
Right. And I think I'm glad you brought up the number of years as 5, because I feel like that is like 4 or 5 years is usually like a general manager contract. I know we don't usually see those, but that makes sense. But I think they would want to return on their investment by the end of that contract with a look to extend you, right? Like one, it's very rare in sports for a coach or a general manager to be a lame duck coach or general manager and go into their final year of the contract and not have that next year of stability. There's examples of it. Barry Trotz was a good example of that in Washington, but it's not the norm. The norm is that, you know, they get an extension before they reach that final year. So you're talking at some point within the first 4 years, you have to be showing some signs of progress there. And this isn't me saying that the Islanders have to win the Stanley Cup in one of the next 5 years. I would like that to be the case. I'm not going to bet on that right now. I can't say that confidently with where they are, but I sure as hell hope they are in 5 years from now, at least a playoff team, a team that's perennially contending for a playoff spot after what, in my opinion, should be, if you don't even want to include last year, say this year and the next year of a turn it over kind of transition. There we go. That's the word that I was looking for. Transition.
Yeah, I really liked the term turn it over because it's not like, well, we have to start the process clean, whether it's a retool or a rebuild. And like this is day one of the retool rebuild. It is a turnover because you have an older core of the Bo Horvat, the Matthew Barzal, Ilya Sorokin. If you want to just name the 3 better players of our core, and then you're going to turn it over to Matthew Schaefer, and let's just put names there just for the sake of it, like Cole Eiserman, Cal Ritchie, Victor Eklund, and Keishon Aitchison. We're just putting names there. I'm not trying to project what they're going to be or anything. That's the transition. That as far as it seems right now is the plan. It's to go from this older core into newer core, but try to keep the transition period not as long as we would, as it would normally be. Right? Like it might take 3 years for Matthew Schaefer to reach his peak from here, maybe even 4, because he's still quite friggin' young. But they want to bridge that gap by having the current core be as good as they can possibly be, which is what we're seeing right now. And then that the young sample or the young core come in and kind of like take the baton slowly one at a time And then we don't have a drop off anywhere near there, anywhere within that period. I mean to say.
Right, because you have like I'm just looking at the Islanders roster right now. They are, adding some younger pieces in here. Like Schaefer's 18, so let's say 3 years from now, you're looking at 21-year-old Schaefer, Heineman 27, Holmstrom 27, some guys like Druin, Lee, Pajot probably not here, Palmieri probably not here, but then you're adding in, you would hope, guys like Cal Ritchie will be 24 3 years from now, and hopefully some of, maybe not all, but some of Cole Iserman, Victor Eklund, Keyshawn Aitchison, and whoever else you're drafting in this upcoming draft.
Yeah, exactly, which we have 2 first-round picks for. And that's the thing. When it comes to this tanking situation, I don't like that argument vis-a-vis the New York Islanders. I don't think we're in any position to tank. I don't think we're in any position to tank successfully even. Sometimes in this Discord, some people forget that tanking isn't just a switch that you can flick on. Coaches and players play to win. So to tank effectively, you have to get rid of winning coaches and winning players. So that means you're trading Bo Horvat, you're trading Matthew Barzal, you're trading Ilya Sorokin, Ryan Pulak, Adam Pelech, and that's fine. I'm sure some of the names out there, some people are going, yeah, check. But you're going to have to trade these players at a loss. And so what the hell is the point of trading these players at a loss? What are you gaining out of that? To be bad? That's stupid.
Yeah, and again, it's just a philosophy, a different view on the philosophy, right? And I'm sure there probably are people that think that way. I know there are because I've seen it.
Yeah.
It's just I don't think I can ever get myself to that point. And different, right? Like if Horvat, Barzal, and Sorokin were not here,
yeah,
and you're talking about, hey, like the only vets that you have to trade off are Palmieri, Druin, Lee, Pajot, and they're rocking with like, I don't know, a goalie who's on the last year, like that's a very different spot. Like you are starting from scratch. This isn't a start from scratch. This is we have a couple of pieces, not enough, but a couple, and you add a number 1 pick to it, and then you add 2 more picks in that same draft to it, and then the following year you add 2, if not more, depending on what you get for Anders Lee / JG Pajot come trade deadline. So I'm not even saying that like the Islanders retooling process is all the way done. It's not. I think, we're going to see that continue this offseason, but I would also like to see them add not, 28-year-olds in a trade like the Bo Horvat trade that they made a few years ago. That doesn't make sense for the team where they are right now. But with the copious amounts of assets that they have, if RFA becomes available, which seems to happen every summer, then that's someone that you should be in on to try to start turning this ship into the positive direction here.
Yeah, the pro tank crowd, I believe, forgot that we effectively tanked last year without actually having to tank, right? Like the point of a tank is to get really high prospects. We've got 3 in one draft in 1 year. 3. Why would we want to tank again? Yeah, we still have 2 first-round picks, but like to do what exactly? If we happen to get a top 5 pick, cool, fine. But that seems very unlikely based off the roster that we're currently rocking right now and how effective they have been. And so we've done the tear down part without actually having to tear it down. Now we can take some of these pieces, like you mentioned, Jean-Gabriel Pajot or Anders Lee or Kyle Palmieri, and take those guys and trade them for picks and whatnot and prospects, but use those to package to get, as you're saying, those high-level RFAs that we haven't been able to get in the past. Like that's where we're at right now. And that's a really good time. That's a really good place to be. We're already 2 years out, 2 years into the rebuild, if you will, without actually having to go through the 2 years of sucking.
Yeah, they did this from the middle, the mushy middle, as we referenced in the beginning.
Yeah, which is really, really lucky. I think I was going to say great. It's not great, but it's lucky. And I know some people might take exception to the word saying like we didn't do the sucking part because we weren't very good a couple of years ago. That's fair, but we weren't San Jose or Chicago or Anaheim bad. That's sucking when we're winning at like 400%, whatever. Like that's not what we were doing.
No, and like the Islanders were a very mediocre team the
Mhm.
last 4 years, 84, 93, 94, 82 points over that last 4 years. That's
Good.
a fringe playoff team, right? Like
Yeah.
very the definition of mediocre over that run. There's teams that are finishing with like 58 points. Like, yeah, I think we have to put into perspective how bad it can be. Like, I was around for, the Islanders finishing with God, what 61 points in 2009 or 73 points in 2011. Like that's bad hockey. That's bad teams.
It's bad teams, man. So we have to use some of the assets we have to then pick up some of these high, high level not prospects, because it's not necessarily players that haven't played here in the NHL by what I mean here, but high level players that are ready for the next step, right? Like we were just seeing now reports that the Islanders had already talked with the New Jersey Devils over Simon Nemec over the summer. Can that resurface again next year over the offseason? Maybe. Do we have enough? I don't know. It's going to be up to the Devils in terms of what they want to do. But maybe that's something we can revisit, because that would be a nice right-handed defenseman that we could use for our team.